Thus, it is the opinion of experts that there is no need for hysteria or panic.
Kitty, can you tell me what it's been like the last week for your work?
Oh, it's crazy busy. So many people with respiratory illnesses. Flu is really, really bad. Lots of staff sick. It's been very bad.
How are you doing?
Well, I'm tired out, sick of being here.
How's work quarantine going?
Fun, lots of fun.
Yeah?
Lots of fun. Lots of mask wearing, lots of fun.
Does it remind you of SARS or is it worse?
I think it's different because I'm out in the hospital, whereas SARS I was just in the unit. But there's a lot of people sick, so in that sense I think maybe it's worse.
Alright, well, go off and do what you do. Let me know if you need a bed. I don't have any.
Gotta go.
Bye.
Oops.
Hey everybody, here I am, middle of the night at work. Just thought I'd give you a quick update on what's going on with this pandemic. So, declared it a pandemic and scientists all over the world are trying to figure out what exactly the virus is and if we can get a vaccine quickly enough. The death rate's not really that spectacular, at least not in North America and Europe as far as we can tell. But it is pretty much in every corner of the globe, and unlike SARS in 2003, this new pandemic in 2019 is affecting significantly more people for sure. Though the death rate appears to be very, very low, it's like double to 3 times the normal pandemic death rate. So yeah, we've seen a few young people get it and die in the ICU. Basically last weekend it got really hectic before I did that video update for you, and on the Tuesday afternoon we declared a provincial code orange, which is not typical in a pandemic, but they decided to do it just to give them the legal clearance. So there's been no list case surgery all week, which gave us a break in terms of beds. We've been trying to look for extra staff and stuff. In SARS in 2003 we got staff in from Alberta and paid them massive amounts of money to help out, and that's not an option because everybody's got it this time. You know, originally it was Toronto, but yeah, it's way over everywhere. So it's like a massive pandemic, but it seems to be a really, really bad seasonal flu. Mostly kind of on the lines with the Asian flu and the Hong Kong flus in the 50s and 60s. We're doing okay, me and Kitty and her parents. Parents are actually kind of put themselves in a quarantine from us, and generally speaking that's a good idea. So I'm just going to give you a rough update of what I've been doing the last week. So this is just kind of my guideline thing that I've been using. It's not the full pandemic plan, but it's what we've done. We've converted about 157 beds at this point to flu beds. So anybody with flu or flu symptoms that's come in that requires hospitalization, we've used them beds, and they're pretty much full most of the time. The other beds were kind of swinging through and doing essential services because you know what it's like. People still have heart attacks and still need chemotherapy and still need dialysis. So we're kind of treading water, and we've been using every space and bed we can think of. The emergency department and the ICUs have really took a pounding over this, and I'm not going to go in there because you have to mask and gown up, as you do in all the flu units, the 4 flu units we've set up, well 5 flu units, we've set one up this morning. Anyway, sorry. So yeah, a large part of what I'm doing is I'm redeploying staff, trying to encourage staff, trying to be helpful with staff. People got a lot of questions. We have actually distributed Tamiflu to quite a few people, and I'll talk about that either this week or next week. And things are going okay. It's significantly frightening, I think, for the population out there, but it's not as scary as SARS. It really just is bad flu, and a lot of people have had it and got over it or getting over it, so people aren't as scared as maybe perhaps they should be. Worldwide, when you tot up the death rate, we've tripled SARS at this point, but bearing in mind SARS didn't kill that many people globally. It killed, you know, quite a few in a few places, Toronto being one of them. So yeah, so we're just plugging on. We're hoping to see the end of this flu outbreak soon, and that would be great. We're not really seeing any dropping in numbers yet. What happened here was that we had like 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 cases over the week, and there was a huge to-do about Toronto having this infection, blah blah. And then we kind of just spiraled up. We had like 50, 60, 80 people in emerge just within a 24-hour period, and we've been consistently seeing 50 to 60 people in emerge just with the flu since then. We've separated the emergent into two halves, so anybody is triaged by gowned professionals, and then they go into the flu area, and 90% of them we're sending home. We can't do anything for them, and we don't have the space. So we're giving a lot of information out there to families and friends and patients, trying to, you know, basically self-care, right? Self-care. Hydrate, rest, take it easy, call 911 if you get very ill. Kitty's quarantining at home did not go well, but otherwise we're doing okay. We haven't been out, we haven't been shopping or movies or going for a walk actually where people are around for some time. We don't plan to till this is over. And just going to keep plugging away at work. It's funny because we both said after 2003, Kitty and myself, that if we ever had to face another pandemic we were just going to quit. And we were pretty definitive about that. When it came to it, we didn't. We're out there working because somebody has to, and yeah, hopefully it wasn't fatal. I don't think so. I've really not had any sign of symptoms. I've got like a grumbling throat, I don't feel that well, but to be honest with you, I think it's overwork. The other things I'm doing is I'm using the stairs quite a bit, but when I don't, I use back service elevators like this because very few people use them. Not a good place to be in a pandemic. The problems we've had this week is actually getting more supplies, and we've managed to get enough supplies that we are actually encouraging people not to use quite so many, but actually dealing with the waste is a major issue right now. So this is our central stores. It gets redone very often. This is where the pandemic supplies are. Yeah, we use them all quite quickly. So like I say, we're trying to hoard what we've got. But we do have a fair amount of gloves and masks and gowns floating around. So hopefully we will be okay, but it remains to be seen. We are encouraging minimal use of stuff, but one of the main things from SARS was if you reuse gowns and masks and gloves, you're going to get infected and you're going to get sick. So we are volume using a vast quantity of material, and of course pretty much every rich country in the world and the poor country in the world doing the same thing right now. So actually getting supplies is going to be a major key factor if this keeps going. However, most people are thinking that we're going to pass the peak probably in the next 2 or 3 days, which would be a good thing because we're all getting really tired. So this is just used linen, and this comes from the flu areas, so it's been specifically bagged and tagged for that, so we know. And this is just from what we designate the non-flu floors. So again, we can tell at a glance what we're dealing with. We're dealing with all of them as potentially infected, but obviously the ones that we know are infected are much more of a biohazard than the others. One of the things we do is, like when we're going to go into the flu areas, we actually gown up and mask up before we go, and then we use our washroom to get rid of them, because to be honest with you, flu areas, I don't trust them. I mean, we've reduced visiting, but they haven't stopped it entirely in this hospital, which I think is a mistake. And I don't really trust the hygiene of visitors and actually staff in the high areas of flu. So I'd rather have my own stuff and deal with it myself calmly in my own washroom. And that's what we've been doing. So these are standard leaflets we're handing out to people, how to look after themselves at home. Fairly basic information. I'll probably go through this at some point. And when and how you should actually summon medical help. It's kind of funny. This is all the people who are actually on the pandemic operating committee that we've got going right now. And at night, they're all me. I have a few people at home I can call, but basically day to day, night to night, on weekends and nights, it's me or my co-workers. And we're really getting kind of tired. We've got 2 co-workers down sick. So we've all been doing like whack loads of overtime, which is not a good idea in a pandemic. But we're all trying just to eat, sleep, focus, and trying to grab whatever rest and fun we can have at work while this is going on. That's it from nights. Another service elevator. Going back up to the office again, trying to jiggle beds, trying to jiggle staff, trying to jiggle supplies. It's working. Hopefully it won't be for much longer. Latest.
The silent invader, an up-to-the-minute report on Asian influenza. Throughout history, mankind has been forced to wage many battles in order to protect his family or nation against misfortune, disaster, or even possible extinction. Now, sometimes these wars have been, well, they've been catastrophic. There was the catastrophe of 1918, when an influenza epidemic swept through our own nation, as well as the entire world. Unlike the battles of nation against nation, or humanity against the forces of nature, when man has often had an opportunity to prepare himself, the battles against disease throughout the centuries have often found man in the unfortunate position of having to combat this enemy only after it had infiltrated his community and infected much of the population.
At that time, as you may recall, in that whole period, we had about 20 million cases in the United States and about 850,000 deaths. But I would like to add that conditions are quite different now than they were then. In the first place, we have a mild strain of influenza, not a virulent strain. In the second place, we have the antibiotics to combat any complications that might arise, which we did not have in 1918.
Because it means only a short 6 weeks from the time the first cases were reported in China, they occurred in the United States. This indicates the great rapidity with which influenza and influenza-like diseases can spread over the world.
So that a person who is immune to the older strains is probably not immune to this new strain. And thus, the vaccines, which have been developed in the recent years by Drs. Francis, Salk, and others, have probably no effect on this invader from Asia.
We believe that the size and severity of the epidemics can be minimized in this country. Thus, it is the opinion of experts that there is no need for hysteria or panic.